My name is Z. I head up Zfit, which is women's health and well-being. I think it started as fitness, Zumba, but it's kind of evolved a little bit into more of a health and holistic well-being organisation in Leicester. I also work at the job centre. I am a single mum. I think that's me. It all kind of started when I saw the artwork at the African Caribbean Centre, and the pieces that I saw just told such a story, and I just thought, well, you know, I've Zfit's been going for about 8 years now, and it wasn't just about me, it was more about what I knew of the ladies of Zfit, and I just thought, you know what, something like this would be so good for some of the women in Zfit, just because they've got so much, there's just so much there to tell and for the world to know about. So then I tried to find out who was behind the project, and well, you know, I knew it was someone that actually came to one of my classes. I thought, you know what, this is just meant to be, this is just destiny. So it was just that the paintings drew me, and I just thought I wanted to be part of this. I don't know how it's going to evolve or where it's going to take me, but the women of Zfit, and we just need to be involved in somehow. So strength, gosh. Strength is a combination of your physical. It's not actually. It's not even physical. It's internal. Strength is an internal reflection of how you deal with circumstances that you're in and what life throws at you. It's how you react to your circumstances. Is strength. Is your ability to be able to keep getting back up when you get knocked down. My dad. Yeah, my dad. Without a shadow of a doubt, my dad. My dad met my mum when he was very young, fell in love. It was a mixed religion marriage, so he had a lot of battles right from the onset back in the 70s. And he had a lot of resistance, and then he had me as well, quite young. They were both quite young. But as soon as they had me, my mum got she got ill, in terms of she got postnatal depression, and she couldn't cope with being a mum, to the point where she tried to take her own life. So my dad obviously had that to deal with at a young age. So he had my mum who nearly lost her life. He had a young child who he almost lost as well in that process. And then she went through quite a traumatic experience after that, with the medical profession, which meant that she literally in herself was gone. So my dad, literally from the woman that he loved, he knew for 3 years, was left with a woman that was a shadow of, well, she wasn't who she was, but he's been caring for her ever since for 40 years. His whole life he's devoted. And when I say caring, it's you can say caring and you kind of visualise a physically disabled person who you kind of, you know, but it's been a lot more than that, because my mum's, when it comes to mental illness, it's massive stigma. So he's basically had no support from his family or anybody. It's not anyone's fault, it's been a massive stigma. It's only just really in the last few years that people have started to come out and talk about to kind of and kind of help and support people who are going through it. But back in the day, as I was growing up and when my mum got ill, it was just completely hidden, especially within our culture. So it was just me and my dad. So I grew up caring for my mum. So I did all the work during the day, and my dad would come home from work, and that was his life, literally. And I was caring for her till I was 21, and then my dad, when he retired, he's just literally from morning to night, he just cares his whole life, and whatever life throws at him, he just keeps going back up. I would like to think so. I would like to think, I hope so. I don't think I'd be here. So I would think so, yeah. I would. Yeah. I've had to be, I had no choice. had no choice in the matter growing up, because I kind of grew up without a mum, and dad was obviously busy looking after mum, so it was kind of I just had to grow up, didn't I? Just kind of happened. I think you turn that question on your head and say, is there a time that I've not needed it? I've needed it at every point in my life, whether it be as a child growing up, going through puberty, uni, marriage, being a mum, not, bringing my daughter up. I don't actually remember a time when I've not needed it. I think as I was growing up, I was a carer. My mum relied, I had to do everything for her, so I had to do all the physical. I had no choice, because I had this human being, and I might have been 6-7 years old, but I still had that responsibility. And you somehow, as kids, you just adapt, don't you? You're resilient. That's all I knew. So as I was a child, all I knew was, because I had to just deal with what the circumstances were. So up until I was 21, I had my mum who just relied on me all the time. So I had no choice to be resilient. And as soon as I got married, literally within the year, I had Lashana. So there I had another human being who just completely was reliant on me, because I was a single mum for a lot of that time. So throughout my life, up until, say, the last couple of years, when my daughter's kind of grown up a little bit and she's becoming a lot, because I wanted to give her everything that I didn't have, and I wanted to make sure that she never suffered in any way, shape or form the way I did when I was younger. So there was no scope or room or there was no space for me to be anything but strong. But I would say, as she kind of turned to the point where she started to become an adult, it almost felt like, because she wasn't relying on me so much, and there wasn't these human beings that were, because my parents were there, but my dad was taking over a lot of the care for mum. So it was weird when I hit 40. It was like a bit of a train crash. It was a bit like, oh my gosh, now I look back and I think, yeah. And I had a moment. I had a few moments where it just saw things at work were not working out, and I had a bit of a moment. My faith has really kept me going. It's what helps me rationalise my life in terms of the way it's kind of panned out. Parents, so a lot of it's my faith, my daughter, my parents, the women who I help, who rely on me as well. I have actually. I've been. The earliest I remember was when I was a kid, was my teacher from primary school, Mr. Hayton, and he used to really help me kind of get to grips with the situation I was in, because obviously it wasn't the norm where you have an 8-year-old who's kind of skipping school days to look after the mum. And so I think during my childhood, it was really good teachers that helped me. My gran, throughout my life, my gran's been there. She's been my backbone. She's helped me through everything. So she's been pivotal in kind of drawing strength from my friends. My friends have been there as well, kind of more as a kind of just to help me just to kind of get through the day-to-day stuff. Or see this in terms of the wider community. And yes, I do. I see it every day in what I do. I'm very privileged in the position that I'm in. I get to see people from every walk of life, and it's been such an interesting journey. I'm privileged, which is why, going back to, why did you get involved in this project? Because I am privileged to so many, a window into so many people's lives, because I'm in that position where people do open up to me and talk to me, and it's just, and to be fair, when you go back to that question about where do you draw your strength and your resilience from, in the last kind of 10 or 15 years, because I was in corporate world before that, since I've come into the more community aspect of since I've come into the community a bit more and been involved with the people and the projects and the organisations that I've been involved with, I just have been privileged with the most amazing stories. And then you part of my faith part of faith and drawing resilience is to think, well, no matter how bad things are for you, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be worse off. And you see these people every day with a smile on their face and carry on with their everyday lives, and for whatever reason you get insight into their lives, and you think, oh my God, you're doing all of this, and yet you've got all of this going on in your life. And yeah, I think it's not just on an individual level, on a community and a society level, because obviously we're living in times where people are anxious. They don't know what the future holds. And I'm not going to start going onto the political bandwagon, but just talking in general, because we're at a time where we've got social media which just spreads news. It's brilliant for a lot of things, but it has its negative aspects as well. There is so much that has come to the forefront because of social media, and people have had to find strength in a different way, or to fight different battles that have never been fought before. And they're not battles as we would know them. They're not physical battles. They're more emotional battles. And when it's emotional battles that we're fighting, it's almost more difficult to find the strength, because when it's physical, it's just, you deal with it. But a lot of the battles that people are facing right now are more mental and emotional battles, which a lot of people just don't know how to deal with. So I do think it's all around us. Yeah, it's been such a journey, because it started off as a Zumba class, and then I started getting more and more qualifications, and we started adding more kind of classes onto the timetable, and as my understanding and knowledge grew, I started to understand that you cannot keep doing the same activity and using the same muscle groups in the same way, because you're going to get people injured, and it's not safe. Which is why I try to choose. It takes me a long time to choose a program and then bring it into Zfit, because I do a lot of research around that, to make sure that we are utilising different muscle groups and they all complement each other, so that the women that come to my classes meet their goals in the most safest and most effective manner, firstly. But what that did was, when I started to go out to different areas, was people started to follow me around. So all of a sudden you've got people from one end of town coming into another end of town that they wouldn't normally come into, meeting with a whole bunch of ladies that they wouldn't normally see on an everyday in their everyday lives. And because Z's always late, they have to mingle with each other. I don't do it deliberately, honestly, but I could say that. I say it's all part of a plan, honestly. I don't have an issue with lateness, but they have to mingle with each other. And all of a sudden they started to know, they're like, there might be someone who, obviously, there is a lot of stigma and Islamophobia and all this kind of stuff that going on. And I'm not saying that it's not about Islamophobia, but there's a real people have an interpretation of what Muslims are, and Muslims have probably a fear on the other side. So all of a sudden you were getting all this intermingling going on, and all of a sudden I started to see that friendships were forming, and all of a sudden it kind of dawned on me that in this environment between the hours of 5:30 and 6:30, when we had this class, there was no religion, there was no back culture or cultural distinction, physical ability, age, colour. We were just women that were facing the same daily struggles, that were connecting and helping each other for that 1 hour through life. And it was so beautiful, if that's the right word to use. It just was, and it was just like magic. So that's when I started to do the events. I know people would think that these events were just all a bit of a laugh and fun, but they weren't. They were a chance for women to kind of get together, away from the classes where, you know, we and actually get to socialize with each other, get to dress up a little bit, feel good, feel nice, and, you know, all the hard work they've been doing all the year, kind of, you know, and they'd work towards it, you know, wearing the outfits, and we'd have awards and they'd feel good. But essentially it was integration. It was all these women integrating and understanding, actually, you know what, we're not all that different. You know, we're all facing the same challenges. We're all up against the same kind of insecurities. We all have the same insecurities, whether it be, you know, whatever colour we are, whatever religion we are, and we're all facing the same battles. We all moan about the kids, you know, and we moan about the husbands, and actually we're not all that different, regardless of what we believe and what colour we are and what size or shape we are. It makes no difference. And that's what Zfit is. You know, that's what it became.